Hi, everyone. I'm Ed Zorn, Vice President General Counsel of the California Regional Multiple Listing Service. I just want to take a couple of moments to talk about the new concessions in price field from CRMLS and the fact that our concessions in price field, that is an invitation from a seller to invite buyers to include concessions and offers, is very different and distinct from the offers of compensation that have been part of the MLS for a long time and that are now coming out of the multiple listing service because of the NAR settlement. I think there's a lot of confusion out there and some arguments people are making that this is simply a replacement of the compensation field, and nothing could be further from the truth. So I wanted to highlight where these concessions are very, very different and distinct from offers of compensation. I think the first really important distinction is about where is the incentive. In the current system of offers of compensation, where the listing broker offers a certain amount of money to the buyer's broker, right? That money can only be used for paying the buyer's broker. And that amount of money is there to incentivize a buyer's broker. And that has been at the heart and in the middle of all of the allegations, arguments, trials that have been occurring, criticisms from consumer advocates and from the Department of Justice, right? Because it is that offer of compensation, the sharing of a commission from one listing agent with a buyer's agent, that drives the fear of steering or potential steering on behalf of buyer's agent. And that is the alleged antitrust violation and harm that is being done to the consumers from their perspective. Now, completely different than that is a concession, right? A seller through their listing agent advertising a willingness to take concessions or a specific number that is a concession that was part of the list price that the seller and listing agent decided upon is very distinct. And it is because it is there to incentivize the buyer themselves. And I think this is the second most important distinction between an offer of compensation and concession, and that is who gets to decide how to spend the money. It's the buyer that decided how to spend that offer of concession that was provided with the listing, not the seller and listing agent, which is how it works when there's an offer of compensation. In the offer of compensation system we currently have, it is the seller and the listing agent that have to decide before any offer gets made how much money is going to be provided to incentivize the buyer's agent. Okay. And that's very different and distinct than the concession example, that I just provided. And so the decision of how to spend the money is also very important. Because remember, we also have new rules that require the buyer representation agreements be signed that specify the amount of money that is negotiated between the buyer and the buyer's agent directly. And I can't receive more as a buyer's agent than what I negotiated. So let's say I'm representing a buyer and her and I negotiate a fee of X% to be my fee. And as we're looking at properties, there is a property that she really likes, and the concession in price field is X plus 1%. So there's 1% more than what we had negotiated as the fee that's coming to me as a buyer's agent. In that situation, the buyer, gets to decide what happens to that 1%. It doesn't come to me as the buyer's agent or get left in the hands of the listing agent, which is what occurs in the current offer of compensation world. In this situation, I'm going to have a conversation with my buyer, and I'm going to ask her, how would you like to spend that extra 1% that the seller has anticipated you asking for in this particular list price? Super important distinction. And a concession is subject to the negotiations, must be put into the offer made by the buyer to the seller, and is fully subject to evaluation and negotiations between the seller and the buyer directly as they negotiate the transaction. I think one of the other things that we're seeing is this allegation that concession field will just be a replacement for the compensation field. And we know now that the concession and price field has been out for 27 days as of this recording. We know that's not the case. And how do we know that? The evidence, actual data now instead of speculation. We have had 955 listings that have leveraged the CRMLS concession and price field. Now, we still have available in the MLS an offer of compensation. So since the offer of compensation is right there, there's no need to use the concession and price field if you want to make an offer of compensation, right? It has no purpose. If you're arguing that this is simply a replacement, then why did 1,000 agents and sellers leverage the concession and price field? The entire point of this video is that a concession is not an offer of compensation. The sharing of commissions from a listing broker to a buyer's broker is not a seller concession. And if we find that a listing agreement where you enter into an agreement with the seller to share your commission as a listing broker with a buyer broker, and instead of doing that sharing somewhere off MLS, you put it into the MLS in the concession and price field, you will receive a fine from CRMLS for that violation. So super important, no matter what kind of listing agreement you use, if it has sharing of commissions in that listing agreement, whatever amount is in that sharing should not go in the concession and price field, and we will be enforcing that rule.